All right, friends, hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of Our Life Beginnings and Always. It's the perfect time for recording right now. You know, we have all of our essential aspects to record. It's after midnight. I'm supposed to be packing right now so I can return home tomorrow morning. And, I don't know a third thing, but I'm definitely not supposed to be playing this game right now. But I really want to. So that's what we're gonna do. I've been thinking about this ever since I recorded the first episode of just, I want to play more. So if we hit, okay, it just takes us right here. I thought maybe we'd have to load something, but it's just continue. Here we are. One thing that I wanted to say before we get into this next part is I was looking a little bit into this game and some of the aspects. Like, I know that Cove as a character, his appearance, his personality changes throughout the game based on what you say. But what I find really interesting is that it's stuff that I wouldn't have necessarily considered to be something that he would change his entire personality based off of. Like, for example, in this little shopping moment that we just had, because I chose the crab now officially in the game, when we get into step 2, the like teenage arc, I guess, preteen, I don't know, he's gonna be wearing a red shirt solely because I chose that I wanted the little crab plushie. And I think it's really interesting how those little bits and pieces can change an entire character like that. Also, it's freezing down here. If you hear me like shaking, it's because it's so cold. I don't know what the temperature is, but it's quite cold. So, I guess, like I said, we'll just go in order. So next is grown up. One sweltering summer day, you were in your living room with Cove, listening to the sounds of the birds chattering outside the window, while you lay across the rug on the floor. Cove's dad had dropped him off earlier, and your moms had left the two of you, along with Lizzie, to play amongst yourselves. It had been too hot to go outside in the afternoon, at least according to Mommy, so your sister was starting to get impatient waiting for her golf class that evening. The three of you had trouble finding something fun to do. The beach and the playground were off limits, and you felt like it was too warm for anything like playing with your fuzzy toy animals. Okay, interesting. Then suddenly, a light came to Lizzie's big brown eyes, and her smile spread wide across her face. Having an idea gave her a new wave of energy. Since we're stuck inside, we should be adults. They don't play outdoors anyways. They're always inside and telling everyone they're too busy to play. Why? I said why. It'll be fun. Duh. Why? What do they do inside that we don't, besides use the phone a lot? Excluding a small huff, Lizzie decides to ignore Cove. Kit, what do you think? Do you want to? I don't really know what you mean. That is an option here. I don't know. I need more plans besides just let's pretend to be adults. Are we gonna do taxes? Please, Kit. When have I ever had a bad idea? Whenever we play with you. I wasn't asking you. I'll try it, but it sounds boring. Again, I need more details. It's not gonna be, I guarantee. Lizzie seemed more determined than ever, and you could only sigh. Satisfied that neither of you were going to bail on her, Lizzie thought over her options while you watched. After a few seconds, she clapped her hands together and beamed, apparently having settled on something without asking either of you. Okay, I'm gonna be a professional golfer. Kit, you and Cove can be a beach volleyball player, a gymnast, or a tennis player. Those are my only options. Oh boy. Why can't we pick anything we want? Because I have a fun idea, that's why. And we have to play sports as adults? Yep. But there's other kinds of sports too. It isn't the same. What do you think, Kit? Don't those choices sound super cool? You want to be that, huh? No. But like in a nicer way. But I feel like saying isn't there anything else we can be is a little bit more. I wish I remembered the color coding because this one's yellow and this one's blue and I can't remember which one is which. This one sounds like going along with the sports theme though, so it really doesn't. Lizzie pouted, resting her hands on her hips and tapping her foot impatiently. Well, too bad. I made the plan and you're a part of it, so choose one already. Cove was unimpressed with Lizzie's attitude, though he didn't bother talking more about it for now. He thought over the list of possibilities: beach volleyball, gymnastics, or tennis. Out of all of them, you'd prefer to play tennis, I guess. When I was a kid, I liked tennis more. I don't know. I kind of did all of them, not beach volleyball specifically, but just like volleyball. And I was not good at it, so any of them. You remembered Mommy had a couple of old tennis rackets lying around somewhere, but you forgot where you'd seen them last. You could check the attic for them, although Lizzie probably wouldn't let you run off and do that now that she had you here. Yes, that was clearly the top option. I want to be a tennis player. Alright. How about you, Cove? I picked volleyball. Should have known. Okay, so Kit, you're a famous tennis player, and Cove, you're on a popular beach volleyball team, and Lizzie's ponytail bobbed when she proudly stretched her arms wide. We're Olympic athletes who just competed in the Olympics. Cove didn't seem all that impressed with the announcement. He made a face and adjusted the glasses on his nose. It's really specific. That's what makes it fun. Anyway. Lizzie marched back and forth in front of the both of you, getting lost in her own imagination. I won all the gold medals and people are calling me the next Mickey Wright. Whoever that is. Who's that? Thank you. Lizzie stopped on the spot and turned to him, her brown eyes shining with impatience. It doesn't matter if you don't know who she is. It's a golf thing. You guys won medals too. Cove, your team was bronze, and Kit, you barely missed out on the gold and got silver. It's more real if we're not all in first place. I mean, honestly, whatever. But yeah, just okay. You stayed silent and looked at your hands. Next to you, Cove leaned towards Lizzie with a frown. Lots of people lose at the Olympics. Them's the breaks. Then you're the one who did, not me. Lizzie looked taken aback by Cove's declaration, as though the thought of her losing was completely absurd. No way, it wouldn't make any sense. I'm already practicing my golf game. She took a golfing stance to make her point, pretending to swing her club and hit an invisible ball. So what kind of house do you want to live in? Cove hadn't changed his mind about winning, but thinking about where he'd live as an adult appealed to him, apparently, because he looked back at Lizzie with some of the anger fading. I'm gonna live on the beach. Okay. Lizzie made a face at him, poking out her tongue. That's kind of boring. We already have that. No, not like the normal houses here with a street. On it. Right on the sand. By the water. Just like that, all the tension was back. Oh boy. You hadn't even had a chance to choose where you would want to live. That's not very fun or smart, Cove. You can't live on a bunch of sand and shells. But I want to, and I will. Cove narrowed his eyes at Lizzie, even though she stood half a head taller than him. You didn't give out a list of things to pick from this time, so I'm picking that. Why are we even playing pretend if we can't imagine anything? Jeez. Well, I'm gonna live in a mansion far away from here, and far away from you. One with an indoor pool and a place to practice my award-winning golfing. That would have to be a big mansion. How come you were yelling about mine when your idea is even more impossible? Lizzie's face flushed red, her hands balling into fists at her sides. It's not impossible, and it's better than yours. Disagreements always seemed to crop up when the two of them were together. You always felt like you were stuck in the middle. But when it came to the topic at hand this time, you thought, I don't know that I would want either. To be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of the beach now. But also, like, a mansion is so... I don't know how to describe it. It's just like, it's too big. Does that make sense? Also, I don't know what these mean. You wanted to agree with Lizzie or Cove was right, because isn't that the same as these two? Or are we talking about the other... Listen, I'm not doing this. You didn't engage with their bickering and instead dreamt up your own dream house. And you weren't going to share your idea with them either. You already knew it was a good one. You can swim whenever you want if you live on the beach. We can still swim anytime we want from where we live now. Being a little closer doesn't mean anything. Says you. The two of them scowled at each other. You're being so unreasonable. I don't get what you want. This game doesn't make sense. It does. You have to be realistic. I said that. But you're not. You had no idea what to do to make them stop at this point. It seemed like the two of them would just keep working each other up as long as they could. Nothing you said so far had kept them from getting mad. Thankfully, like a greeting card angel, Mom walked into the room. Lizzie rushed to her, hanging onto the hem of her shirt and poking out her tongue at Cove. Lizzie, Kit, it's time to get ready to go. Sorry you have to leave already, Cove. Their mommy said she'll walk you home so you won't get left in the cold. Okay. A little bit awkward there, but... Cove was still glaring at Lizzie, his face flushed red with anger. I can go by myself. But... Without giving Mom a chance to stop him, Cove stood up and stalked out of the room, shoulders drawn tight. Okay? Worried, Mom turned to look down at you and Lizzie. You two were playing nice with our new friend, weren't you? Lizzie wasn't. Yeah. No, Lizzie and Cove kept yelling at each other. They wouldn't stop fighting about everything. Your sister's jaw dropped, looking betrayed, as Mom put both hands on her hips. Elizabeth! I told you to be kind to him. He's having a hard time right now. Lizzie's mouth closed back up, replaced by a tiny frown. I know. I tried, but he was... No buts. We both know you can show someone a great time when you put your mind to it. We're going to apologize to Cove and his dad over the phone when he gets home from work tonight. Ooh. Lizzie hung her head, dragging a foot across the ground in front of her. Okay, Mom. Good girl. You got pieces of Lizzie sulking to herself about how it was his fault too, but it was over. Ah, right, we better get a move on. Let's go, kids. Nolani, where'd you leave the car keys? Oh, we have a car. Mom hustled you all out the door, and you noticed during the car ride to golf practice that Lizzie was quieter than usual. Why do I have to go to golf practice? She was usually the first one to request which music to listen to in the car, but she didn't say a thing. Your parents noticed she wasn't in a mood to be bothered. They gave her space, and Mommy just asked what you'd like to listen to. I wanna listen to... I guess my favorite song. Eventually, Lizzie came around and started singing along with you. You both knew all the words, and your moms even sang along too. When the car ride was over, you spent the twilight hour watching Lizzie hit things with the other girls her age. You didn't know much about golf, but you could tell that she really liked it, so you sat with your moms and tried to puzzle it out. It was nice sitting outside after being cooped up in the house all day, and you stretched out your legs to let the last few minutes of sun warm your skin. Wow, it got dark. When the sun was finally out of sight, dipping behind the horizon, you all got ready to leave. Instead of going straight home, your moms took the family out to dinner. You went to a restaurant you had all been going to ever since you could remember. The whole afternoon had been a bunch of shouting you hadn't been able to stop, but you could kind of tell that this all helped Lizzie be less angry. The car ride back home was quiet, with only the radio providing escape from silence. Lizzie had been in better spirits now, but the closer you got to your neighborhood, the more she wiggled in her seat and frowned out the window. She knew what was coming when you all got back home. Clearly, she was dreading it. Soon enough, Mom was turning onto your street, then reversing into the driveway. Once she cut the ignition, it was dead silent. No one spoke, only unbuckled their seatbelts and opened the doors. Lizzie was the last one out. Once everyone was inside and done taking off their shoes, she propped her hands on her hips. Now then, Mr. Holden's car is in his driveway, so he should be back from work. That's good news, isn't it, Elizabeth? You and Cove can hash things out before the day's done. Lizzie didn't complain or put up a fight. Her head ducked so she didn't have to meet anyone's eyes. She nodded once. Good, let's move this to the kitchen. Mom went over to the house phone, the rest of you following behind. This is a family event. Mommy put a gentle hand on Lizzie's shoulder as they walked side by side. You watched them from the back. This was only happening because you told on Lizzie. Uh-huh. I didn't regret it. Let me read the rest of the options, though. Felt a little guilty. You hadn't liked doing it. It was her fault. I mean, yes. But I didn't regret it. You frowned to yourself, recalling how Cove had left in such a bad way. Mom had told you to be on your best behavior with Cove, but Lizzie hadn't listened. She'd upset him more than usual, even. The four of you stood around the kitchen in a lopsided square. All eyes were on Lizzie, who kept her gaze on her feet. You remember the number for Cove's house, don't you, honey? Why is that something we have memorized? Lizzie jerked her head in another nod, sullen. Without further prompting, she stepped forward and began to dial. Mom reached over and pressed a button on the base. Suddenly, you could hear the phone ringing. You'd turn on the speaker. Damn. The phone rang a couple of times, then stopped. Mr. Holden's warm voice came through the other end. Evening, Holden residence. Oh boy, that's where I was putting my face. Lizzie looked over at Mommy, unsure. She nodded encouragingly. Hi, Mr. Holden. It's, Lizzie. Can I talk to Cove? Lizzie Thicket? What a surprise. But of course you can say hey to the boy. He sounded cheery as usual, though definitely meant it when he said it was a surprise. You thought hard, and you were sure that your sister had never called Cove's house before. Mom spoke up before Mr. Holden or Lizzie could say anything more. Her arms were crossed over her chest. Her lips pursed. Hi, Cliff. Nolani, Kit, and I are here too. Good evening. We're sorry to bother you so late. Yeah, I guess I'll say hi. This is a family event. Hey, wow, that was so casual. Hey, Mr. Holden. The gang's all here, huh? Something the matter? His voice grew a bit concerned. Mommy was quick to reassure him. No, well, yes, but it's going to be okay. Lizzie and Cove got into a bit of a fight today. We were hoping that the two of them could talk and make things up. Is this a good time for you and Cove? A fight? Cove didn't tell me anything about that when I came home. It does explain the funk he's been in tonight. He chuckled lightly. Despite that, it didn't seem like he really thought it was funny. Anyway, it's good. You didn't catch us at a bad time. I'll go grab him for you. There was some shuffling on the other end. He must not have gone far because you could still hear him calling out. Cove? There's someone on the phone for you. After a beat of silence, there was more muffled talking from Cove's dad. Come on, bud. Lizzie called just so she could talk to you. They took a bit of back and forth, though the conversation seemed one-sided since you couldn't hear Cove properly. Eventually, Cove took the phone from his dad. Hello? You opened your mouth, only for Mommy to catch your eye and shake her head softly. You frowned, but didn't say anything. Hey. It's Lizzie. Yeah, I know, Dad told me. Cove's tone was defensive. Lizzie turned to Mom, scowling. One stern look from her, though, and Lizzie turned away. I just called to say, I'm sorry for not playing nice with you today. I won't do it again. Lizzie's eyes were downcast, her voice low. You could tell she felt uncomfortable apologizing to Cove in front of everyone. She was still being genuine about feeling bad. Cove must have realized that too, because he sighed quietly. I want gold. Damn. Cove, you're expensive. Lizzie was momentarily stunned, silent by the demand. He couldn't understand why that mattered so much to him. The Olympics. I was thinking like gold bars. I was like, damn. Alright, you win the gold. Okay. I guess I'm sorry too. A sense of relief washed over everyone at his acceptance of the apology. Mom uncrossed her arms while Mommy's shoulders relaxed. Lizzie's eyebrows raised up. You wondered if she thought that he'd refuse her apology. Dad, can I get off the phone now? You couldn't see him, but it was obvious that Cove felt awkward about this situation. He had come off uncomfortable the entire time, really. Yeah, you can go back to your room if you want. Be sure to say goodbye first, though. Bye, Lizzie. Bye. With that said, Cove must have handed the phone to his dad and left, since Mr. Holden spoke up. All's well that ends well, as they say. Thanks for arranging this. I'm sure he appreciates it. As Mom replied, Lizzie tugged on Mommy's hand to catch her attention. Can I go now, too? Sure, sweetie. Thank you very much for apologizing to Cove. Mom flashed a brief smile at Lizzie and nodded her agreement. Given permission to leave, Lizzie scurried off towards the stairs. She seemed to be feeling much better with the incident behind her. Mom and Mommy returned to the phone, taking it off the speaker. They continued talking to Mr. Holden. You couldn't tell what about. You were glad that that was the end of it all. Lizzie and Cove might not get along, and probably still won't, but they weren't mad at each other anymore. Mom and Mommy weren't upset either. Everything was finally back to normal. With that thought, you retreated to your own room with a spring in your step. Yay, I did a good deed. That was cute. Okay, all of these are cute, apparently. I really want the DLC. Just like seeing all these and being like, we could go to the library. Ugh. Okay. Have a long day. It was another scorching summer day, the kind where no sooner had you finished one cup of water, you were already filling it up again. Everyone else had something on. Okay, words. So that afternoon it was just you and Shiloh. Maybe. This didn't happen much, especially since Cove had arrived. Without Lizzie around, Shiloh looked to you for all the answers. It made you feel... I don't know. I guess nothing? Just a day. Shiloh went along with whatever you wanted, so he wasn't a bother, but he also wasn't that much fun. That's exactly what I was thinking, so I'm glad that I got that correct. You drained yet another drink and frowned at the empty vessel. Your thirst was gone, but you still craved something icy cold and refreshing. Something sweet. Something like a popsicle was my first thought. An ice cream sandwich. An ice cream sandwich. You craved soft ice cream sandwich between 2 cookies. Okay, you didn't have to describe it like that, but sure. There was nothing like that to be found at home. You knew that without needing to look. Your moms didn't keep sweets in the house. Outside, there were plenty of places where such goodies could be obtained, but they were shops and demanded payment in exchange for their products. I'll sigh. As much as you really wanted that treat, it wasn't going to happen. What's wrong? I want an ice cream sandwich. Shiloh, who had been draped over the sofa, perked up. That sounds good. We don't have any here, and I don't have any money. Oh, let me check if I have any. Shiloh rummaged in his backpack and proudly produced an assortment of coins, plus 1 stray button. He set the button aside and counted the coins in neat piles. Just over $1. You announced this to Shiloh. He'd almost certainly come to the same conclusion, but he'd been watching you expectantly. It's a start! Shiloh beamed at you. We'll need to find some more. Okay. The 2 of you lifted couch cushions, stuck tiny hands down deep crevices in the sofa and under furniture, and scoured the back of drawers. Most of what you found was useless or gross. Bent paper clips, fluffy wisps of dust, or sandy crumbs. But every so often one of you would strike silver or bronze and add it to the growing pile of coins. Your mind wandered to the $20 bill tucked away in your room. Okay. It was enough for you and Shiloh to get whatever you wanted and more, but you didn't take it out. It was too special to hand over so freely. Besides, Shiloh would be curious about where it came from and might even mention your wealth to Lizzie. The exchange had been a secret. Dusty and disheveled from checking every room and squinting into every tiny nook, the 2 of you finished pooling your finds. Shiloh had held his breath as you counted the coins once again. $2.53, and 2 buttons. You didn't know when the second button had decided to join the party, but you were too pleased with your successful haul to throw it out. Is that enough? You figured he knew the answer without looking to you for confirmation, but the thrill of your success and the reward that would soon follow canceled out any other feelings you might have had about that. Yeah. You can now afford something at the shops. Just one thing, but that was infinitely better than none. Shiloh clapped his hands. Yay! The 2 of you dashed outside, the promise of sugar buoyed? I don't know how to say that. You on your destination where, breathless but happy, you stared at the overwhelming number of options. You knew what you wanted, but it wasn't just you who had contributed to the funds to get the treat. He seemed to notice your pause. Aren't you getting an ice cream sandwich? Shiloh asked as though he was entirely separate from the decision, rather than someone with a stake in the outcome. Do you mind? Shiloh cocked his head to the side. It was your idea. You should choose. Yeah, we're getting an ice cream sandwich. You were thrilled that Shiloh wasn't going to be an obstacle between you and your original choice. Without wasting another second, you exchanged cold, hard cash for equally cold, but maybe less hard, dessert. Finally, the reward for all your hard work was in your hands. You bit the ice cream sandwich. The chewy chocolate biscuit complemented the creamy vanilla ice cream inside. You held it out to Shiloh so he could take a turn. He shook his head. Shiloh, this is for us. You can finish it. You didn't want any? After everything he did to help get it? That was weird. Okay. My ice cream sandwich. There was no point arguing. It was already melting under the rays of the sweltering summer heat. Or sun, whatever. You eagerly tucked back in. The cold, sugary treat quenched you in ways that the water just couldn't reach. The 2 of you began to head back home as you ate. You were glad, too, to get the treat all to yourself. Only half wouldn't have been nearly as good. Even so, you couldn't help but wonder what Shiloh was thinking. You walked side by side on the shore in silence, but your thoughts kept drifting to the boy beside you. Why didn't he speak up for himself? It was almost as if Shiloh didn't know how to say what he felt, or was too afraid to. I just think that he's happy-go-lucky. That's the way that he feels to me. Are we friends? I guess. Are we friends? Shiloh opened his eyes wide, seemingly caught off guard by the blunt question. Yeah, I think so. He says that, but friends should be able to talk to each other without being scared. If Shiloh wouldn't do that, were you even really friends at all? He rubbed his hands together nervously over your non-reaction. I'm sorry. You weren't sure how sorry he could be without knowing what he's even apologizing for, but you shook your head. You didn't do anything. It was true. Shiloh hadn't done something mean. He'd gone out of his way to make you happy. It didn't seem like it should be a bad thing, yet it bothered you. I just don't know if you like me. It's like it doesn't matter what I do, you're gonna act the same. I could be anybody and you wouldn't care. No, I like you. I really, really like you, Kit. I want to be friends. Okay. You smiled hesitantly at him in his fidgeting seats. Even though you weren't sure if you believed him, this was only making things worse. You decided that maybe there were all types of friends. If Shiloh wasn't able to do things differently, this would have to be alright. Shiloh made you unsure about setting a label on the experience of spending the afternoon with just him. There had been good times, and there had been confusing ones. You were positive of one thing, at least. The treat was delicious, and that was nice. Go team. The sun was low on the horizon as you returned to your neighborhood. There you spotted two familiar figures up ahead, Lizzie and Cove. You opened your mouth to make your presence known to them just as you saw the tears on Cove's face. Oh no, Cove! You walked straight over, Shiloh at your heels. Once there, you... carefully asked about what happened. Without a time machine, the only way you were going to find out was by asking the witnesses. Lizzie might have done something, but she could have been in the wrong place at the wrong time, or even come to Cove's aid. You wanted to hear the story. Cove, what happened? I got yelled at. He took a deep, steadying breath. Some grandparents got mad at me. Ah, the old people who hate kids. Aw, sorry. Lizzie jerked her head in the direction of a nearby house. Your heart sunk. You knew exactly what happened. Every year, the same mean old couple rented out that condo for the summer. You, Lizzie, and Shiloh knew to stay away from them, but Cove couldn't have. They're like that with everyone. Even your mom struggled to find anything nice to say about them, but the elderly pair particularly took offense to kids. Yeah, Lizzie said. Lizzie drew herself up at that. She looked pointedly in your direction. Uh-huh. I was helping. That's cool. Is there anything I can do? No, I'm just gonna stay away. Or you could teach them a lesson. There's a devilish glint in her eyes. What? You should ding-dong ditch them. Go ring the doorbell and run. It'll be great because they're so slow. They'll never catch you. That's dumb. I don't want to go near them ever again. You're saying that because you're a cluck chicken. That's not the way I would say that, but okay. Cove glared, but didn't take the bait. Lizzie turned to you. You're not a chicken, are you? Yeah, I am. She can't tease you about being a chicken if you are, in fact, a chicken. Hunched over, you folded your arms to form wings and bat them up and down. I would normally, in this instance, make that actual sound, but it's 12:45 in the morning, and I do that quite loud, so words are there. Buck, buck, baka. But I could do a pretty good impression. For once, your sister seemed at a loss, but it didn't take her long for her to regain her usual confidence. So you admit it. You continue to flap your arm wings as you circle your sister, clucking all the while. There's no shame in a chicken being a chicken. Yeah, you're chicken. Things were not going the way Lizzie expected. She fought against the laugh and looked for a way to restore her serious authority. You and Cove are both little chickens. Baka. There's something about his face as he says that and like the period in it. He's so serious. Cove folded his arms, though the one with the cast wasn't as tightly tucked down, and joined you in cheeping around. It was hard to cluck through the giggles that rose up when you saw him imitating a chicken, but you both still gave a first-class performance. The door to the old couple's condo flung open to reveal one of the culprits behind Cove's tears. You froze, wings raised. Can't you let anyone have a bit of peace and quiet? Get on a different road if you want peace and quiet. You must not be a fan of theater or farm animals, as well as kids. That was the only explanation for his outburst, which was far louder than anything you and Cove had done. Go on, beat it. It was distinctly unfair, but Cove's lip was trembling and you thought it would be best to heed his command. Lizzie took off, but with Shiloh immediately trailing after her without as much as a glance back in your direction. So much for your friendship. You waved your arm at Cove, summoning him to follow you, and ran after Lizzie. The old man's hollers propelled you all the way from the street to the sanctity of the hill. Only once you were safe did you notice the stitch in your chest and the ache of your legs. Tired. You flopped down, the blades of grass tickling at your face. Lizzie, who had taken the lead in the end, was already lazing on the ground. The four of you took a moment to catch your breath and enjoy the feeling of cool grass against your skin. Hey, Cove. Cove lifted his head. I told you they were mean grandparents around here. Cove rolled his eyes, then decided this wasn't dismissive enough, and rolled his whole body away from your sister. Lizzie chose to ignore his response and started chatting to Shiloh, who eagerly joined in the conversation. In the back of your mind, you knew you'd be second fiddle again to Shiloh once Lizzie came around. It always went like... And that was fine. Shiloh could prefer Lizzie as much as he wanted to. You closed your eyes, laid on your side, and relaxed. Some time passed with you like that. It felt good to take a real break. You moved onto your back with a small smile and looked at the darkening sky. The blanket of clouds reminded you of a thick throw you curled under on cold, rainy days. You wondered if the clouds would be as soft. They lazily floated on by, splitting from each other, merging and morphing into new shapes. I saw clouds. Like, I would have to see the clouds to see if I could see something in them. Those are clouds. Though I do like the idea of, like, the dolphin, because we had dolphin moments before, but... You nudged Cove and pointed at the sky. Behold, those clouds look like clouds. What does that look like? Cove looked up at the sky, angling his head back and to the side. Finally, he shook his head. I don't see anything. Really? Really? What do you see? Clouds! He chuckled at that. Now I would... Okay, well, the clouds changed. Then I would have been able to say, that one looks like a deer, I don't know. All the sun's light faded from the sky and the moon rose higher. Lizzie got to her feet, dusting strands of grass from her bare legs, and surveyed her surroundings. The ocean, visible from the crest of the hill, beckoned with every sweep of the tide. Let's go to the beach. Beach, let's go get away. There was no argument from the other two. Shiloh was still Shiloh. Unfortunate. And Cove would never say no to going to the shore. He was a child of the sea. You were happy to do what the others wanted. The beach wouldn't necessarily have been where you chose to go next, but if that was where the others wanted, then you weren't going to spoil the fun. There's a random sandcastle here. You stepped onto the sand for the second time that day, but it felt different at night. The beach was nearly quiet at this hour. Abandoned sandcastles and footsteps in the sand, too big to belong to any of you, were the only indication of how busy it had been only hours earlier. The four of you kicked shoes off and removed socks and walked along the water's edge. The waves tickled at your feet. I wonder what would happen if you tried to take a bath in the ocean with shampoo and everything. I assume it would be fine. That would be bad for the fish. Okay, there are always two people. I didn't say anyone would do it. Geez, you don't have to be so serious about everything. You're the one who asked what would happen. That is what would happen. It hurt the fishes. I like bubble baths at home. They're a lot of fun. Me too. Bubble baths are luxurious. You'd never even heard Lizzie use that word before. Mommy loves to have bubbles in her bath. She'll turn the lights off and have candles. I'm gonna do that next time. Hey, when's your mom coming to pick you up anyway? Not for a while. She's busy. About your dad? How come you never talk about him? Nobody does. Don't you know you're not supposed to ask somebody something like that? Why would somebody want to talk about something they never talk about? You kept your eyes on the ground, watching your toes get swallowed up by waves. Even if Shiloh never seemed upset when this topic came up, it made you feel awkward for just for having both of your moms. I wish I could read. It's okay. I'm like Lizzie and Kit. I don't have a dad. But I don't have two moms, I just have one. She's really great. Oh, sorry. I only have one now, too. My mom isn't here. She's back home. It's my dad with me. Aw, I never had a dad or anything, so I don't feel bad. It's really sad that your mom is gone. Something about that just made me laugh. I don't feel bad. Alright, Shiloh. Cove nodded. Even if they're all different, our parents are good in their own ways. Yeah. Cove couldn't muster a response. You don't think he truly disagreed, though. The silence broke with a splash as Lizzie kicked in your direction. Cold water and sodden sand sputtered against your legs. Lizzie giggled, but still outstretched from the kick. Cove joined in, striking the incoming waves to make a splash of his own. Shiloh scurried out of Cove's spray zone with a grin. I've gotta retaliate. You used your foot to smack the water pooling around you, sending an arc of sea foam flying back onto your sister. Her laugh. I laughed. You laughed as she spluttered, some of the salty seawater having landed in her mouth. She spat it out. Yuck. Lizzie chased you, intent on revenge. You dashed up and down the coast, taking it in turns to be the predator and the prey, as well as joining forces to take down Shiloh or Cove. Alliances were silently forged and wordlessly broken. Everything was fair game in war. Ah! Shiloh's brief exclamation was drowned out by the biggest splash yet, caused by him falling face first onto the ground. This would have been bad enough without the wave that followed, cascading over his prone body. Oh no. Shiloh sat up, shaking his head like a dog coming in from the rain, as you all hurried over to check on him. His hair was plastered to his head, and his soaked clothes clung. If there was any part of him that was still dry, you couldn't see it. That was crazy. Are you okay? Yeah, my foot got stuck and I fell over. Way to go, Shiloh, you dumbo. I'll help him up. Shiloh didn't take your outstretched hand. Okay, Shiloh. After a moment, you dropped it. Lizzie was too busy snickering to notice and held her hand out to Shiloh, too. He reached over and took it. Slowly, he started to pull himself from the ground. Then he slipped on the slick sand. I wish I could read. Slick sand, dragging him and Lizzie down just in time for another wave to hit. The water rolled over them. Well, now I don't feel bad for you not taking my hand. Sorry. What were the odds of that happening twice in a row? You thought they must be low. But there's no way Shiloh would do something like that on purpose, then pretend it was an accident. Especially not to Lizzie. Even if your relationship with Shiloh felt unclear, he did at least like her a lot. Lizzie was his favorite, right? Smiling boldly, Lizzie extracted herself from the ground and wiped a streak of sand from her cheek. She didn't intend to let this embarrass her. Shiloh got up again as well, this time without incident. He still looked like a drowned puppy, but that didn't stop Cove laughing at the two of them. With that, it was time to call it a day. The four of you made the journey back home, leaving a trail of wet footsteps and sand in your wake. Damp clothes may have weighed down some of the group, but your spirits were high. Your arms swung side to side as a cool breeze flowed past. Your moms were outside, chatting to Cove's dad. Hi, we disappeared again without saying anything. We're back. Your mom's faces fell as they took in the state you were all in, ranging from messy to soaked. Elizabeth, is that all you have to say for yourself? You brought half the beach back with you. They certainly did. What's Marigold going to do when she comes to get Shiloh? Is that how you want him to be for the long drive home? Old and filthy? Lizzie's expression turned sulky over the scolding. Being the oldest could be fun, but it also meant she was the first to get in trouble when something went wrong. Listen, I know that I just got her in trouble in the last one for doing something. This one is not her fault. Mr. Holden, on the other hand, chuckled as he ruffled Cove's matted hair. You've been out making memories, Bucko. You've been out making memories, Bucko? I'm glad you had a good time with your friends. Cove used his slightly moist cast arm to push his dad off. Mr. Holden's eyes widened when he noticed that even that had gotten wet. Now he was worried too. I think they could have found a much less risky way to spend time and had just as much fun. That might be right. Kids, what can you do? Come on, Cove, let's go get you cleaned up and dried off. We wouldn't want that cast to have to be reset. Cove winced at the thought. Okay. Attaboy. Mr. Holden casually bent down and plucked Cove up from the ground, ultimately holding Cove against his chest. Sand was already transferring from Cove onto him, but that didn't seem to bother Mr. Holden. Cove protested being carried, but only got a reassuring pat on the back for his trouble. Good night, Cove. Thank you for the talk, Cliff. Night, Thicket family, and Shiloh, too. Well, we'd better do what we can to fix you guys up, too. Come on, everybody inside. I want you to march straight to the downstairs bathroom. Yes, Mom. Okay, Lizzie's mom. Don't worry about stopping to wipe your feet on the mat this time. That won't do much good tonight. Sitting on an old beach towel your mommy had found, you waited in the hall. Until you were less sandy, you weren't allowed to go to your room or walk around the house. But you did get to eat a sandwich for dinner there. Not like an indoor picnic. It had been decided that Shiloh would wash first and borrow some of your clothes. He was already finished and packed away in his mom's car. Miss Fields had come to collect him a little while ago. It was a bit of a funny experience seeing him without that hat on for once. Lizzie, being much more soaked than you, got to go in the tub next. It wasn't a bubble bath as she hoped. This was a no fun allowed cleanup session. At least that's what she claimed. Not much longer and it would be your turn. When the bath was done, you'd have to go straight to bed. After a day like this, though, you were glad that there wasn't going to be any further events. Drifting off to sleep sounded like a great idea. Oh, and that's it. Okay, well. We're getting a little bit close to an hour, plus I'm getting sleepy. In real life, it's 1 a.m. So I'm gonna end this episode here, but we're getting close to the end of childhood. We have 2 more to go, and then we will see what happens next episode to like bridge us over into preteen? Teenager? I don't know. I also, again, back to this scene. I want that DLC. It's so silly. I just started this game, but I want that DLC. But we will see it next time. Next time you see me, I will be in my actual recording area. So we won't have, you know, the awkwardness of maybe the light's not as great, the background's a little weird, whatever else pops up. And it will be normal, but I think that's all for this episode. So thank you for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time for some sand castles and some fireflies.